Zikar pressed his face against the cold window of the survey ship Bright Dawn. The blue planet grew larger as they moved closer. His scales tingled with excitement. This was his first real mission since joining the Galactic Coalition fleet. He was young for a Villani, only 23 cycles old, but he had trained hard for this moment. "Beautiful world," said his friend Mortek, who stood beside him. "The data shows it has water, oxygen, and perfect temperature zones. Another easy addition to the Coalition." Zikar nodded. The Coalition had been expanding for over 1,000 years. Most primitive species welcomed them with open arms. The Coalition brought technology, medicine, and peace. Who would not want such gifts? Commander Velteran walked onto the bridge. His purple uniform showed his high rank. All the younger officers straightened up when they saw him. "Prepare for standard first contact protocol," he announced. "This species calls themselves humans. They appear to be in their early space age. We expect no resistance." The bridge crew moved quickly. Zikar watched the communications officer activate the universal translator. Another officer powered up. The peaceful greeting message. Everything was routine and calm. "Sir," called out the sensor operator, a female Villani named Carrara. "I am detecting something unusual." Commander Velteran frowned. "What kind of unusual?" "Multiple artificial satellites around the planet, and sir, they appear to be armed." The commander walked over to look at her screen. "Are you certain?" "Yes, sir. I count at least 40 battle stations in orbit. And there are more ships coming up from the planet's surface." Zikar felt his stomach tighten. This was not how first contact was supposed to go. Primitive species did not have orbital weapons. They barely had spaceflight at all. "Send the greeting message anyway," ordered the commander. "They are probably just defensive systems. Once they understand we come in peace, they will stand down." The communications officer sent the message. The Coalition's standard greeting was simple. It explained that they came as friends. It offered trade, technology, and membership in the galactic community. No species had ever refused it. They waited. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of the ship's engines. "Sir," said the communications officer, "we are receiving a response." "Put it on speakers." A human voice filled the bridge. It was calm but firm. "Unknown vessels. This is Admiral Jake Morrison of Earth Defense Command. You are approaching sovereign human territory without permission. State your intentions immediately, or you will be fired upon." Commander Velteran looked confused. "They are threatening us? Did the translator work correctly?" "Yes, sir. The translation is accurate. Send another message. Explain that we are peaceful explorers. Tell them we offer friendship and technology." The communications officer sent the new message. Again they waited. This time the response came faster. "Coalition vessels, this is Admiral Morrison. We know who you are. Our deep space monitors have been tracking your expansion for years. We have seen what you do to other species. You are not welcome here. Leave immediately." Zikar felt cold. How could these humans know about the Coalition? They were supposed to be primitive. They should not have deep space monitors. "Sir," said Carrara, "more human ships are moving into position. One count 23 vessels. They are much smaller than our ships, but they are moving very fast." "Commander." Velterana's face turned dark purple with anger. "How dare they threaten the Coalition? We represent over 200 worlds. We offer them civilization, and they point weapons at us?" "Sir," said the communications officer, "should I send another message?" "No, we will show them the price of defying the Coalition. All ships, prepare for battle formation." Zikar watched in horror as the Coalition fleet spread out. The Bright Dawn was not a warship, but the 3 cruisers that escorted them were powerful vessels. Each one carried enough firepower to level a city. "Sir," called out Carrara, "the human ships are moving. They are coming straight at us." On the main screen, Zikar could see the human vessels. They were small and angular, nothing like the smooth curves of Coalition ships. They moved with purpose, like hunting animals. "This is Captain Lisa Burke of the USS Defender," came a new voice over the communications. Coalition fleet, you have 10 seconds to begin withdrawal or we will open fire. 10 seconds? Commander Velteran laughed. We have shields that can stop anything they might throw at us. All ships target their lead vessel. The Coalition cruiser Eternal Peace fired first. A bright beam of energy shot across space toward the human ship. But the USS Defender was already moving, rolling to one side as the beam passed harmlessly by. Impossible, whispered Mortek. How did they dodge so quickly? The human ships opened fire. Instead of the single beams that Coalition ships used, they fired dozens of small projectiles. The projectiles moved incredibly fast, too fast for the Coalition's targeting systems to track. Shields at 80%, called out the weapons. Officer on the Eternal Peace. They are using some kind of kinetic weapons. More human ships joined the fight. They moved in patterns that made no sense to Zekar. Coalition ships fought in neat formations, following ancient rules of space combat. But these humans flew like wild creatures, diving and spinning and attacking from impossible angles. Sir, said Carrara, one of the human ships is heading straight for the Eternal Peace. It is not firing. It is just coming straight at them. A kamikaze attack, said Commander Velteran. They are going to ram the ship. On the screen, Zekar could see the human vessel. It was much smaller than the Coalition cruiser, but it was moving at full speed. The pilot had to know it was a suicide mission. This is Commander Steve Clark of the USS Hammer, came a voice over the communications. For Earth and freedom. The USS Hammer struck the Eternal Peace just below the bridge. The explosion was tremendous. Both ships were destroyed instantly. Over 300 Coalition crew members died in that moment. The human ship had maybe 20 people on board. They are insane, said Mortek. They killed themselves just to destroy one of our ships. But the other human ships were not finished. They pressed their attack with frightening determination. The Coalition cruiser Gentle Current took multiple hits and began to lose power. The Star of Progress tried to retreat, but human fighters swarmed around it like angry insects. Sir, said the communications officer, the Star of Progress is requesting immediate support. They have lost engines and shields. All ships, fall back to safe distance, ordered Commander Velteran. This is not how first contact is supposed to go, but the humans were not done. More ships came up from the planet's surface. These were even smaller than the fighters, but they moved with the same deadly purpose. One of them approached the Star of Progress. Coalition vessel, this is Captain Ryan Cole. Surrender immediately or we will board your ship. Board us? Commander Velteran could not believe what he was hearing. They want to capture a Coalition cruiser? The Star of Progress tried to fight back, but it was badly damaged. The small human ship attached itself to the cruiser's hull like a parasite. Within minutes, human soldiers were cutting their way inside. Sir, said the communications officer, the Star of Progress reports that humans are on board. They are fighting in the corridors. Zekar had never heard of such a thing. Space battles were fought between ships, not inside them. But these humans seemed to make up their own rules. Sir, said Carrara, I am detecting a transmission from the planet's surface. It is directed at us. Put it on speakers. A new voice filled the bridge. It was deeper than the others, with the sound of absolute authority. Coalition vessels, this is General Marcus Webb of Earth Defense Command. You came here expecting easy conquest. You found something different. We are not the primitive species you thought we were. We have been preparing for this day for 50 years. We know what you do to other worlds. We know about your slave markets and your forced relocations. We will not allow it to happen to Earth. The general paused, and when he spoke again, his voice was cold as space itself. You have seen what we are capable of. This is your only warning. Leave our system immediately. Tell your Coalition masters that Earth is not for sale. Tell them that humans do not surrender. Tell them that if they come back, we will destroy every ship they send. Commander Velteran looked around the bridge. His crew was shaken. 2 of their escort ships were destroyed or captured. The humans had fought like demons, with tactics that made no sense but somehow worked. "Sir," said Carrara quietly, "more human ships are approaching. They have us outnumbered 3-1. "Set course for the jump point," ordered the commander. "Maximum speed." As the bright dawn fled toward the edge of the solar system, Zekar watched the blue planet grow smaller. He thought about the humans they had just encountered. They were not primitive at all. They were something far more dangerous. They were a species that would rather die than surrender. "What will you tell the High Command?" asked Mortek. Zekar did not answer immediately. He was thinking about the human who had rammed his ship into the eternal peace. The pilot had known he would die, but he had done it anyway. What kind of species produced such warriors? "I will tell them the truth," Zekar finally said. "I will. Tell them that we have found something we were not prepared for. I will tell them that the humans fight like nothing we have ever seen before." 6 months had passed since the disaster at Earth. Zekar stood on the observation deck of the massive battlecruiser Eternal Victory, watching the largest war fleet in galactic history prepare for battle. Over 2,000 coalition ships stretched out in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming in the light of distant stars. "Magnificent, is it not?" said Admiral Cathmoran as he joined Zekar at the window. The Kelani admiral was tall and proud, with golden skin that marked him as nobility among his people. "No force in the galaxy can stand against such power." Zekar nodded, but his hearts were heavy. He had submitted his report about the humans 6 months ago. He had described their strange tactics, their willingness to die rather than surrender, their impossible speed and determination. The High Command had read his words, but they had not understood them. "Admiral," Zekar said carefully, "the humans are not like other species we have encountered. They fight differently. They think differently." Admiral Cathmoran laughed. "Young Zekar, you were frightened by your first real battle? That is understandable, but look around you. We have brought the full might of the Coalition. We have ships from 50 different worlds. We have weapons that can crack planets. What can a few thousand primitive humans do against this?" Zekar wanted to argue, but he knew it was useless. The Coalition had been victorious for 1,000 years. They had conquered or absorbed over 200 species. They could not imagine defeat. "Besides," the Admiral continued, "our intelligence reports show that the humans have been preparing their defenses. They know we are coming. But preparation cannot overcome such overwhelming force. The intelligence reports were true. For 6 months, Earth had been a hive of activity. Human ships had been spotted throughout their solar system, building new defensive stations and laying minefields. They had even constructed weapons platforms around their moon and the planet they called Mars. "Sir," said Lieutenant Velkoth, approaching with a datapad, "the final fleet status report. All ships are ready for battle. We have confirmed that. The human fleet numbers approximately 800 vessels." Admiral Cathmoran smiled. 800 against 2,000. "And their ships are smaller than ours. This will be over quickly." But Zekar remembered the USS Hammer ramming the Eternal Peace. Size had not mattered then. The human pilot had turned his small ship into a weapon that destroyed a coalition cruiser. He wondered how many human pilots were willing to do the same thing. The journey to Earth took 3 days. During that time, Zekar tried to prepare himself for what was coming. He studied the human battle recordings from their first encounter. He watched the way their ships moved, the way they fought without regard for traditional space combat rules. The more he learned, the more worried he became. On the morning of the 3rd day, they arrived at the edge of the human solar system. The Coalition fleet dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation, ready to advance on Earth, but something was wrong immediately. "Sir," called out the sensor operator, "I am detecting massive energy signatures throughout the system. The humans have been very busy." On the main screen, they could see what the humans had built. The entire solar system had been turned into a fortress. Weapons platforms floated in the darkness between planets. Minefields blocked the obvious approach routes. And everywhere, human ships waited. "How many ships?" asked Admiral Cathmoran. Difficult to say, sir. They are using some kind of stealth technology, but I estimate at least 1,500 vessels. Zekar felt his blood turn cold. 6 months ago, the humans had maybe 50 ships. Now they had 1,500. How had they built so many so quickly? Sir, said the communications officer, we are receiving a transmission from the planet Earth. Put it on speakers. A woman's voice filled the bridge. It was calm and professional, but Zekar could hear the steel underneath. Coalition Fleet. This is General Patricia Hayes of Earth Defense Command. You are entering human space without permission. This is your final warning. Leave immediately or face the consequences. Admiral Kethmoran stood up straight. Send our response. Tell them that the Coalition offers them one chance to surrender. If they do not accept, we will take their planet by force. The communications officer sent the message. The response came back quickly. Coalition Fleet, this is Admiral Kevin Stone. We have your message. Here is our answer. The transmission ended abruptly. Sir, said the sensor operator, human ships are moving. They are coming straight at us. The human fleet advanced like a pack of hunting wolves. Their ships moved in groups of 5 or 6, each group taking a different path. They did not advance in the neat formations that Coalition doctrine demanded. Instead, they moved like they were alive, flowing around obstacles and striking from unexpected angles. All ships, ordered Admiral Kethmoran, assume battle formation. Prepare to engage the enemy. The Coalition fleet moved into position. Their ships were larger and more powerful than the human vessels, and they had better shields and weapons. By every measure that mattered, they should have won easily. The first human attack came from a direction that made no sense. A group of small ships had somehow gotten behind the Coalition formation. They struck at the rear guard, hitting supply ships and command vessels. How did they get behind us? Demanded the admiral. Unknown, sir. They must have been hiding in the asteroid field. More human ships attacked from the sides. They moved incredibly fast, striking and then disappearing before the Coalition ships could respond. It was like fighting shadows. Sir, said the weapons officer, one of our cruisers is under heavy attack. The humans are using those kinetic weapons again. On the tactical screen, Zekar could see the Coalition cruiser Bright Future surrounded by human fighters. The small ships moved around the larger vessel like angry insects, hitting it with hundreds of small projectiles. The cruiser's shields were failing under the constant barrage. Send support to the Bright Future, ordered the admiral, but before help could arrive, something impossible happened. A human ship, no bigger than a shuttle, rammed directly into the Bright Future's bridge. The explosion tore through the cruiser's hull, and the massive ship began to break apart. They did it again, whispered Zekar. They sacrificed themselves to destroy one of our ships. Sir, said the communications officer, I am receiving a transmission from the human ship that just attacked. It was sent just before impact. What does it say? This is Commander Steve Clark of the USS Hammer II for Earth and Freedom. Zekar felt sick. It was the same message they had heard 6 months ago. The humans had even named their ship after the vessel that had destroyed the Eternal Peace. They were not just fighting a war. They were fighting a crusade. The battle continued for hours. Every time the Coalition thought they had found a pattern to human tactics, the humans changed their approach. They fought like no enemy the Coalition had ever faced. They were willing to sacrifice any number of ships to destroy a single Coalition vessel. Sir, said the sensor operator, I am detecting a large group of human ships approaching from the direction of their moon. How many? Over 300 vessels, sir. They are moving at maximum speed. Admiral Kethmoran looked at the tactical display. His fleet was scattered across the solar system, trying to chase down human ships that refused to fight fair. Over 50 Coalition vessels had been destroyed or badly damaged. The humans were losing ships too, but they seemed to have an endless supply of them. Sir, said Lieutenant Velkoth, the human reinforcements are led by a ship that is much larger than the others. It appears to be some kind of battleship. On the main screen, they could see the human vessel. It was ugly compared to coalition ships, covered in weapons and armor plating. But it moved with purpose, leading the human fleet directly toward the coalition's main formation. "Sir," said the communications officer, "we are receiving a transmission from the human battleship. Put it on speakers." A man's voice filled the bridge. It was older than the other human voices they had heard, with the sound of long experience. "Coalition Fleet, this is Captain Tony Martinez of the USS Freedom. You came here thinking you could conquer us. You thought we were just another primitive species that would roll over and accept your rule. You were wrong." The human battleship. Open fire? Its weapons were different from anything the Coalition had seen before. Instead of energy beams, it fired massive projectiles that moved at incredible speed. When they hit Coalition ships, they punched through shields and armor like they were made of paper. "Sir," said the weapons officer, "their weapons are using some kind of accelerated matter. Our shields are not designed to stop physical projectiles moving at such high velocity." More human ships joined the attack. They had learned from the first battle 6 months ago. They knew how coalition ships fought, and they had developed new tactics to counter them. Every human ship seemed to have a specific job, and they worked together like parts of a single organism. "Sir," said the sensor operator, "we are losing ships faster than we can replace them. The humans are targeting our command vessels specifically." It was true. The humans were not just fighting randomly. They were cutting the head off the coalition fleet, destroying the ships that coordinated attacks and gave orders, without proper command structure. The war had been going on for 8 months now. Zekar sat in his bunk on the troop transport vessel Silent Hope, staring at his hands. They were shaking again. They had been shaking for weeks now, ever since he had been reassigned to ground combat duty. The Coalition High Command had finally admitted that the space war was not going well. Human ships continued to appear from nowhere, striking Coalition fleets and disappearing before they could be destroyed. The humans had turned space combat into a nightmare of hit-and-run attacks and suicide missions. So the Coalition had changed tactics. If they could not defeat the humans in space, they would invade human colonies on other worlds. They would force the humans to fight on the ground, where Coalition numbers and heavy weapons would give them an advantage. Zekar had volunteered for ground combat because he thought it would be easier than space warfare. He had been wrong about many things during this war. 10 minutes to drop zone," announced the pilot over the ship's communication system. "All troops prepare for combat landing." Around him, other Coalition soldiers checked their weapons and equipment. Most of them were Thakuri, a warrior species that had joined the Coalition 50 years ago. They were bigger and stronger than Zekar's people, with thick, armor-like skin and natural weapons. They should have been perfect for ground combat against humans, but Zekar had read the reports from other battles. The Thakuri were dying just as fast as everyone else. "You look worried, little Villani," said Sergeant Hector, a massive Thakuri, with scars covering his arms. "Are you afraid of the humans?" Zekar wanted to say yes, he was terrified of the humans. But he could not show weakness in front of the other soldiers. "I am ready to fight for the Coalition," he said. Hector laughed. "Good, the humans are just another primitive species. They bleed and die like any other enemy, you will see." The planet below them was called Kepler 442b by the humans. It was a garden world with blue oceans and green continents. Human colonists had been living there for 30 years, building cities and farms. It should have been an easy target, but the Coalition had been attacking Kepler 442b for 2 months now, and the humans still held most of the planet. Every city was a fortress. Every farm was a battleground. The humans fought for every meter of ground like it was made of gold. "Landing in 30 seconds, called the pilot. "Remember, the humans have been preparing for this. Watch for traps and ambush." The transport ship shook as it entered the planet's atmosphere. Through the small window, Zekar could see the landing zone. It was a flat area outside a human city called New Boston. Coalition forces had been trying to take the city for weeks. The ship touched down with a hard bump. The rear door opened, and hot air rushed in. Zakar could smell smoke and something else, something that made his stomach turn. It was the smell of death. "Move, move, move!" shouted Hector. "Off the ship and into position!" Zakar ran down the ramp with the other soldiers. The landing zone was a wasteland of bomb craters and destroyed vehicles. In the distance, he could see the walls of New Boston. The human city looked like a medieval fortress with high walls and guard towers. "Squad leaders, report to the command post," ordered their officer, Major Velenoth. "We attack the city at dawn." Zakar followed his squad to a position near the city walls. As they moved, he saw the evidence of previous battles. Coalition equipment was scattered everywhere, most of it destroyed. There were also human weapons, strange devices that looked like they had been built in workshops rather than factories. "The humans fight dirty," explained Corporal Mector, pointing to a coalition tank that had been destroyed. "They use bombs? Hidden in the ground. They attack at night when we cannot see them properly. They do not fight like civilized soldiers." As night fell, Zakar tried to sleep, but rest was impossible. Every shadow could hide a human soldier. Every sound could be an enemy attack. The humans had a reputation for night fighting that terrified. Coalition troops at 3 in the morning. The attacks began. The first explosion came from the direction of the supply depot. A massive fireball lit up the night sky, and Zakar could hear coalition soldiers screaming. Then came the sound of human weapons, the sharp crack of their projectile guns. "All units, we are under attack," shouted Major Velenoth over the communication system. "Unknown number of human infiltrators in the camp?" Zakar grabbed his weapon and crawled out of his sleeping bag. Around him, other soldiers were doing the same thing. But in the darkness, it was hard to tell friend from enemy. "There!" shouted Hector, pointing to a figure running between the tents. "Human soldier!" The figure was small and fast, dressed in dark clothing that made it almost invisible. It moved like a shadow, appearing and disappearing between the coalition positions. When it raised its weapon, Zakar could see that it was a human female. Sergeant Helen Moore, 3rd Marines. She said in perfect coalition standard language, "You boys picked the wrong planet to invade." She opened fire with her weapon, and 3 coalition soldiers fell. Then she was gone, vanishing into the darkness. Like she had never been there. "How did she learn our language?" asked Zakar. "The humans have been monitoring our communications for months," replied Hector. "They know everything about us, but we know nothing about them." The attack continued for 2 hours. Small groups of human soldiers appeared from nowhere, struck hard at coalition positions, and then disappeared. They targeted ammunition supplies, communication equipment, and medical stations. By dawn, the coalition camp was in chaos. "Casualty." "Report," ordered Major Velenoth when the sun finally rose. 47 dead, over 100 wounded, reported the medical officer. "The humans also destroyed most of our heavy equipment." Zakar looked around the camp. The humans had attacked with maybe 20 soldiers, but they had caused damage that would take days to repair. And they had done it all in the dark, fighting on their own terms. "Sir," said one of the scouts, "the humans are moving." "Large force?" "Approaching from the city." Through his binoculars, Zakar could see the human army. They were led by a tall man in a military uniform, walking calmly across the battlefield as if he owned it. Behind him came hundreds of human soldiers, all moving with the same deadly purpose. "That is General William Carter," said Major Velenoth. "Human colonial commander. He has been fighting us for 2 months." The humans stopped just outside weapon range. General Carter stepped forward and activated a voice amplifier. "Coalition forces," he said, his voice carrying across the battlefield. "I am General William Carter of the Colonial Defense Force. You have been attacking our world for 2 months. You have killed our civilians and destroyed our cities. Now, we are going to show you what happens when you make humans angry." The human army began to advance. They moved in small groups, using the bomb craters and destroyed vehicles as cover. Their weapons were different from coalition technology, but they seemed to work very well. "All units, open fire," ordered Major Velenoth. The coalition soldiers began shooting. Their energy weapons lit up the battlefield, but the humans kept coming. They moved like they had been fighting this war their whole lives, every soldier knowing exactly what to do. "Sir," said Hector, "the humans are flanking us. They are moving around our left side." It was true. While the main human force attacked from the front, other groups were moving around the coalition positions. The humans fought like they could think with one mind, coordinating their attacks perfectly. "Fall back to secondary positions," ordered the major, but falling back was easier said than done. The humans had surrounded the coalition camp and they were closing in from all sides. Their weapons were not as powerful as coalition technology, but they were very good at using them. "Sir," said the communications officer, "I am receiving reports from other battle zones. The humans are attacking coalition positions all over the planet." It was a coordinated assault. While the coalition had been focused on New Boston, the humans had been planning attacks across the entire planet. They had turned the whole world into a battlefield. "We need air support," said Major Velinov. "Call in the gunships." But when the coalition aircraft arrived, they found the humans ready for them too. The humans had built weapons specifically designed to shoot down coalition aircraft. Strange devices that fired projectiles into the sky, bringing down gunships and transport craft. "Sir," said the pilot of one gunship, "the humans have anti-aircraft weapons everywhere. We are taking heavy losses." By noon, the coalition position was hopeless. They were surrounded, outgunned, and running out of ammunition. The humans had turned a simple colonial world into a death trap. "Sir," said Hector, "I recommend we surrender. We cannot win this battle." But Major Velinov shook his head. "The coalition does not surrender. We will fight to the last soldier." Zakar watched the humans advance on their position. They moved carefully, professionally, like soldiers who had been fighting for years instead of months. Every human seemed to know exactly what they were doing. "How did they get so good at war so quickly?" he asked. "They have been preparing for this war their whole lives," said Hector. "Every human is a soldier. Every human is willing to die for their world." The final assault began at sunset. The humans attacked from 3 directions at once, using tactics that the coalition had never seen before. 2 years had passed since the war began. Zakar stood in the prisoner exchange area on the neutral station Haven Prime, watching as coalition and human representatives negotiated another prisoner swap. He had been held in human captivity for 18 months, and it had changed him in ways he was still discovering. The humans had not tortured him. They had not starved him or beaten him. Instead, they had done something far worse. They had treated him with respect and kindness even, though he was their enemy. They had shown him what the coalition really was and what it had done to hundreds of worlds. "Zakar?" said a familiar voice behind him. He turned to see Dr. Amanda Wells, the human doctor who had treated his injuries after his capture. She was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes. But Zakar had learned that she was also a former military officer who had fought in the early battles of the war. "Dr. Wells," he said, using the human greeting gesture he had learned. "I did not expect to see you here. I wanted to make sure you were okay," she said. "Prisoner exchanges can be difficult. Are you ready to go back to your own people?" Zakar looked across the docking bay at the coalition transport ship that would take him home. He should have been happy to see it. Instead, he felt empty and confused. "I do not know," he said honestly. "The humans have shown me things that I cannot forget. Videos of coalition planets where entire species have been enslaved. Records of coalition commanders ordering the destruction of cities full of civilians. Is this what we really are?" Dr. Wells nodded sadly. "The coalition has been very good at hiding its true nature. Most of your people probably believe they are spreading peace and civilization, but the truth is different. Why did you show me these things? Why did you treat me well when I was your prisoner?" "Because we believe that people can change," she said. "We believe that even enemies can become friends if they are willing to see the truth." A coalition officer approached them. It was Commander Velteran, the same officer who had led the first contact mission 2 years ago. He looked older now, with new scars on his face and a tired expression in his eyes. "Zikar," he said, "it is time to go. The transport is ready." "Commander," said Zikar, "what has happened while I was away?" "How goes the war?" Velteran's expression grew dark. "Not well. The humans continue to fight with impossible determination. Every battle costs us more ships than we can afford to lose. The High Command is becoming desperate." "Desperate enough to do what? You will see soon enough. Report to Admiral Morkathan when we reach the fleet. You are being assigned to a special mission." The journey back to the Coalition fleet took 3 days. During that time, Zikar tried to readjust to life among his own people, but everything felt different now. The casual way Coalition officers talked about conquering other species, the assumption that the Coalition had the right to rule the galaxy, the complete lack of understanding about what they were fighting. When they arrived at the fleet staging area, Zikar was shocked by what he saw. The Coalition had assembled another massive fleet, even larger than the one that had attacked Earth 2 years ago. But these were not the same ships. These were different, darker, covered in weapons that looked like they had been designed for only one purpose. "Welcome back, Zikar," said Admiral Morkathan when he reported for duty. The Admiral was a Kelani, like Admiral Kethmorin had been, but this one was different. His eyes were cold and hard, and he wore the uniform of the Coalition's Special Weapons Division. "Admiral," said Zikar, "what is this fleet? What are those ships?" "These are the instruments of final victory," said the Admiral. "The High Command has decided that the human problem must be solved permanently. We are going to crack their homeworld and end this war once and for all." Zikar felt his blood turn to ice. "Crack their world? You mean destroy the planet?" "The weapon is called the World Ender," explained the Admiral. "It can fracture a planet's core, causing it to break apart. The humans have cost us too much. They have embarrassed the Coalition in front of the entire galaxy. This ends now." "But sir, there are billions of humans on Earth. Civilians, children, families. They are not all soldiers." Admiral Morkathan looked at Zikar with disgust. "Your time in human captivity has made you soft. The humans are a disease that must be eliminated, every last one of them." Zikar was assigned to the support vessel Gentle Current, the same ship that had survived the first battle at Earth. As they traveled toward the human home system, he tried to process what he had learned. The Coalition was planning genocide. They were going to destroy an entire species because they could not defeat them in fair combat. "You look troubled, young Villani," said Chief Engineer Hekmal, an older Thakuri who had served in the Coalition fleet for 30 years. "Are you worried about the battle ahead?" "Chief," said Zikar carefully, "do you think what we are doing is right? Destroying an entire planet?" Hekmal looked around to make sure no one was listening. "Between you and me, this war has shown me things I never wanted to see. The Coalition used to stand for something good. Now we have become the very thing we once fought against. Then why do you continue to serve? Because what choice do I have? This is the only life I have ever known. But I do not like what we have become." When they arrived at Earth's system, Zikar was amazed by what the humans had built. The entire solar system was now a fortress. Weapons platforms surrounded every planet. Minefields blocked every approach route, and everywhere human ships waited. "How many ships do they have now?" asked someone on the bridge. "Our intelligence estimates over 3,000 vessels," replied the sensor operator. "But they are still smaller than our ships." "Numbers do not matter," said Admiral Morkathan over the fleet communication system. "We have the World Ender. Nothing can stop us now." But the humans were not planning to stop them. They were planning to destroy them. The human fleet advanced to meet the Coalition forces. They moved with the same deadly precision they had shown in every battle, but this time something was different. This time they were not trying to win, they were trying to buy time. "Sir," said the communications officer, "we are receiving a transmission from the human fleet. Put it on speakers." A man's voice filled the bridge. It was older, tired, but still strong. "Coalition fleet. This is Fleet Admiral Gary Ellis of the Earth Defense Force. We know why you are here. We know about your planet killer weapon. We will not allow you to use it. Sir, said the sensor operator, the human ships are moving into attack formation. But they are not targeting our main fleet. They are heading straight for the world ender. The human attack was like nothing Zekar had ever seen. Hundreds of human ships threw themselves at the coalition formation, not caring about their own survival. They fought like they were already dead, like they had accepted that they would die but were determined to take the world ender with them. Sir, said the weapons officer, the humans are breaking through our defensive lines. They are getting close to the world ender. All ships, protect the world ender, ordered Admiral Morkathan. It must not be destroyed. But the humans had planned for this. While some of their ships attacked the coalition fleet, others moved around the edges of the battle, approaching the world ender from unexpected directions. Sir, said the communications officer, we are receiving multiple transmissions from human ships. They are all saying the same thing. What do they say? For Earth and freedom. One by one, human ships rammed into the world ender. Each impact caused massive explosions that damaged the huge weapon. The coalition ships tried to stop them, but there were too many human vessels and they were willing to sacrifice everything. Sir, said the sensor operator, the world ender is taking heavy damage. The humans are targeting its main weapon array. On the main screen, Zekar could see the massive weapon. It was the size of a small moon covered in energy collectors and focusing arrays. But human ships were hitting it again and again, each impact causing more damage. This is Admiral Chris Young of the Earth Defense Force, came a voice over the communications. Coalition forces, you came here to destroy our world. Instead, you will learn what it means to fight a species that will never surrender. The human admiral's ship was heading straight for the world ender's main weapon. It was a suicide mission, but Zekar could hear the determination in the man's voice. He was going to die, but he was going to take the planet killer with him. Sir, said the weapons officer, we cannot stop him. The human ship is going to hit the main weapon array. The explosion was visible from across the solar system. Admiral Young's ship struck the world ender's primary weapon, and the resulting blast tore through the massive structure. Secondary explosions followed as the weapon's power systems overloaded. Sir, said the damage control officer, the world ender is breaking apart. The weapon is completely destroyed. Admiral Morkathan stared at the screen in shock. His ultimate weapon, the device that was supposed to end the war, was now a cloud of expanding debris. And the humans were still fighting. Sir, said the communications officer, we are receiving a transmission from the human fleet commander. Put it on speakers. A woman's voice filled the bridge. Coalition Fleet, this is General Mary Parker of the Earth Defense Force. Your planet killer is destroyed. Your invasion has failed. You have one chance. 5 years had passed since the war ended. Zekar sat in the witness chair of the Galactic War Crimes Tribunal on the neutral world of Sanctuary Prime. The Great Hall was filled with representatives from dozens of species, all waiting to hear his testimony about what had happened during the human war. The coalition no longer existed. After news of their defeat at Earth spread across the galaxy, member worlds had begun to rebel. Some species declared independence. Others formed their own alliances. The great galactic empire that had ruled for 1,000 years had collapsed in less than 2 years. State your name and rank for the record, said Chief Justice Velinara, a tall Etherin with silver skin and ancient eyes. My name is Zekar of the Villani. I held the rank of lieutenant in the Coalition Survey Corps, later transferred to ground forces during the human conflict. You were present during the first contact with the human species? Yes, Your Honor. I was aboard the survey vessel Bright Dawn when we encountered Earth's defense fleet. Tell the tribunal what you witnessed. Zekar looked around the hall. In the audience, he could see humans sitting beside former Coalition species. Dr. Amanda Wells was there, along with General William Carter, who had fought him on Kepler 442b. They were no longer enemies. They were something he had never thought possible. They were friends. The first contact was supposed to be routine, Zekar began. We expected to find a primitive species that would welcome coalition membership. Instead, we found a civilization that had been preparing for our arrival for decades. How could they have known about the coalition? The humans had been monitoring galactic communications for years. They knew about coalition expansion. They knew what happened to species that refused to join. They had seen the slave markets and the forced relocations. They decided they would rather fight than surrender. What was your impression of human military capabilities? Zechar thought about the first battle, the USS Hammer ramming the Eternal Peace. The humans fought like nothing I had ever seen. They used tactics that broke all the rules of civilized warfare. They were willing to sacrifice their own ships to destroy ours. They turned every battle into a nightmare. Did you consider their tactics to be criminal? At first, yes. Coalition doctrine teaches that war should be fought with honor and restraint. But the humans showed me that sometimes survival requires different rules. They were fighting for their freedom, their families, their right to exist. They could not afford to lose, Justice Velinar nodded. You were later captured during ground combat on Kepler 442b. Tell the Tribunal about your treatment as a prisoner. The humans treated me better than I deserved, Zekar said honestly. They fed me, gave me medical care, and showed me respect. But more importantly, they showed me the truth about what the coalition really was. What truth? That we were not the civilizing force we believed ourselves to be. We were conquerors. We enslaved species that could not defend themselves. We destroyed cultures that refused to submit. The humans made me understand that we were the villains in this story. A murmur ran through the hall. Many of the audience members were from species that had been part of the coalition. They were hearing things they had never been told. The prosecution has presented evidence that the coalition planned to destroy Earth's entire population. Can you confirm this? Zekar felt sick remembering the world ender. Yes, Your Honor. Admiral Morkathan showed me the planet-killer weapon. He said the human problem had to be solved permanently. He was planning genocide. What was your reaction to this plan? I was horrified. The humans had never attacked coalition worlds. They had only defended themselves. But the coalition decided that any species that refused to submit must be eliminated completely. Tell the Tribunal about the final battle at Earth. Zekar closed his eyes, remembering the horror of that day. The humans knew they were going to die. They knew the world ender could destroy their planet. But they fought anyway. They threw everything they had at that weapon, knowing most of them would not survive. Why did they make such sacrifices? Because they believed that freedom was worth dying for. Admiral Chris Young rammed his ship into the world ender's main weapon. He knew it would kill him, but he did it anyway. Lieutenant Colonel Tracy Mills led the boarding party that destroyed the weapon from inside. She died too. They all knew the cost, but they paid it willingly. What made the humans different from other species the coalition had encountered? Zekar thought about all the battles he had witnessed. Other species fought to win. The humans fought to survive. They understood that losing meant the end of their civilization, so they fought with a desperation that the coalition had never seen before. But surely their technology was inferior to coalition weapons? Yes, but they made up for it with determination and creativity. They built ships faster than we could destroy them. They turned their entire civilization into a war machine. Every human became a soldier. Every factory became a weapons plant. They fought like their lives depended on it because they did. Justice Velinara leaned forward. In your opinion, what was the coalition's greatest mistake? We underestimated them, Zekar said. We saw their smaller ships and simpler technology, and we thought they were primitive. We never understood that they had something we had lost, the will to be free. They valued their freedom more than their lives. The Tribunal has heard testimony that human soldiers often fought to the death rather than surrender. Was this fanaticism? No, Your Honor, it was love. They loved their families, their world, their way of life. They knew that coalition victory would mean the end of everything they cared about. So they fought with the strength that comes from protecting what you love. What happened to coalition morale as the war continued? It collapsed. Our soldiers were used to easy victories against species that could not fight back. The humans showed us that we were not invincible. Every battle cost us more than we could afford to lose. After a while, coalition soldiers began to question why we were fighting. Did you question the war? Yes, especially after my capture. The humans showed me records of coalition actions on other worlds. I saw species that had been enslaved, cultures that had been destroyed, planets that had been strip-mined. I realized that we were not the heroes of this story. What convinced you that the coalition was wrong? The humans could have killed me when they captured me. Instead, they treated me with kindness and respect. They showed me that enemies could become friends if both sides were willing to see the truth. The coalition never taught us that. Justice Velanara consulted her notes. You have testified that the human victory changed galactic politics. Can you explain how? The humans proved that the coalition could be defeated. For 1,000 years, no one had successfully resisted coalition expansion. But the humans showed smaller species that they could fight for their freedom and win. Within 2 years, the coalition was falling apart. What is your relationship with humanity now? Zakar smiled. I serve as an ambassador between the Villani Republic and the Earth Alliance. We are working together to build a new galactic community based on cooperation instead of conquest. The humans have shown us a better way. Do you regret your part in the war? Every day. I was part of an invasion force that tried to destroy a peaceful species. I cannot change what I did, but I can work to make sure it never happens again. What would you say to those who claim the humans were too aggressive in their defense? I would say that they had no choice. The coalition came to their world with weapons and demands. They offered slavery disguised as civilization. The humans chose to fight rather than submit. History will judge them as heroes, not aggressors. In your opinion, what should the galactic community learn from this conflict? Zakar stood up, looking around the hall at all the different species represented. We should learn that diversity makes us stronger. The coalition tried to make everyone the same, to force all species to follow the same rules. But the humans showed us that different ways of thinking and fighting can overcome any enemy. What is your final assessment of the human species? They are remarkable. They turned a peaceful colony into a military power that could defeat the greatest empire in galactic history. But more than that, they showed us what it means to fight for something bigger than yourself. They fought for their families, their freedom, their right to exist, and they won. Do you have any final words for this tribunal? Zakar looked directly at the human delegation. I want to apologize to the human people for my part in the invasion of their world. I want to thank them for showing me the difference between right and wrong. And I want to promise that I will spend the rest of my life making sure that what the coalition did never happens again. Justice Velanara nodded. Thank you, Zakar of the Villani. Your testimony will be entered into the permanent record. As Zakar left the witness stand, he felt a hand on his shoulder. He turned to see Dr. Amanda Wells, the human doctor who had treated him during his captivity. That was brave, she said. It could not have been easy to testify against your own people. They were not my people, Zakar replied. My people are those who believe in freedom and justice. That includes humans, Villani, and anyone else who is willing to fight for what is right. What will you do now?